Hi, so I'm Jessica and I'm here again to run a workshop on another one of our stress responses, so a really normal biological response to stress, and this response is the freeze response. So in the first workshop I did responding to the fight response, that kind of angry, irritated, irritable, kind of quite speedy response, and the next week was flight, which is also quite fast, anxious, worried. Heart rate tends to be a bit faster, breath is a bit faster in both of those responses. In the freeze response, things tend to slow down a lot more. So we're going to be sitting on a chair. If you can sit on a sofa or the edge of your bed, on a stool, preferably you'd have a little bit of room for your arms, but you know, we have to work with what we've got at home now. So just finding somewhere to sit. So the freeze response is another really normal human response to stress, to frightening events, to traumatic events, or just quite ordinary daily stressful events. And we're all living through an incredibly stressful time in history. So it's likely that we're all kind of finding ourselves in fight, in flight, and in freeze quite often, noticing that our thinking will get smaller and less reflective, less big, and that different sort of things will start to happen in our bodies. So in fight and flight, they're quite fast, as I say, our heart rate goes up, our digestion can speed up. But in freeze, things tend to get a lot more slow. Our heart rate gets lower, our breathing can get quite slow, we can feel quite foggy, a bit disconnected. We might, at the extreme, actually feel really hopeless and depressed. The freeze response can be quite a difficult place to be, and I'm going to suggest that we don't sort of slow down too much, at least until we've kind of brought ourselves back online with freeze. So we're not going to go really fast and kind of release energy like we might with the flight response, but we're not going to really go straight into slowing things down too much either, like laying or anything until the end. Because we need to come back online. Freezes are really offline. It's like, sort of think about the Wi-Fi bars on your phone kind of going down, kind of going offline. So it's difficult to connect. You often won't remember much of your day if you spent a lot of it in the sort of freeze state. And so like I say, these are really normal neurological states when we're stressful. The back brain back here makes these choices outside of consciousness, and our body just does what it's told to do to manage the stress. So we're going to start seated in a chair, preferably with a little bit of room, but we do whatever we can. You know, you might be on a sofa or on the edge of a bed, whatever you've got available to you. What we are going to think about is sitting sort of upright if we can. So by upright, all I mean is we're not curving the spine, we're not going forward. I'm going to exaggerate it so you know what I mean. And we're not kind of slumping either. And so when we're sitting sort of straight, I'll stay this way for a moment. We're upright, you know, we're straight. We're not slipping off our sitting bones, which are those kind of bony, knobbly bits somewhere inside the bum. Okay, in the bum cheeks. So we're sitting upright. We're trying to let our shoulders drop down. That might not be too possible just yet. Don't worry. And the first thing we're going to start doing is just pressing one foot and then another foot into the floor. Okay, so it's really not, you know, a lot of work that's happening here. We're really looking at, you probably can't even see the movement that I'm doing, but it really is just a small movement, pressing one foot and then the other foot into the floor. So we're just creating some pressure down through the legs into the floor. And you might start to notice that kind of comes up, you know, I can kind of feel that it's sort of moving me right up into my body a little bit, yeah? And a lot of the autonomic nervous system that's involved in the freeze state is sort of down lower in the body. And when we press through left and through right, what we're starting to do is kind of wake that up, kind of give a bit of muscle tension and release. So pressing and releasing, pressing and releasing, okay? It's nothing, it shouldn't be too much hard work, it's not exercise. We're just trying to create a bit of muscle tension that comes up the legs, into the hips and the buttocks and into the lower belly. So just pressing and releasing. Doing anything that involves a left and right movement is also really useful for the disconnect between left and right hemispheres of the brain. So people talk about something bilateral. So it means going from left to right in our movement or our eyes and the way that we're looking. We will do something with the eyes in a moment. Just keeping with that sort of gentle pressure from left to right. And you might start to see if you can release the breathing a little bit, see if there was some tension in the breathing. And another nice thing to incorporate when we're frozen is a bit of sound. So we might breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth with a bit of a sigh. Let there be a little bit of noise there. You're hopefully in a space that feels private at home, as private as possible, and not worrying too much about sort of feeling a bit silly because no one can see you. But we're breathing in and breathing out. And then maybe just taking that pressure for a moment through the feet into both feet. So just pressing down through both feet and releasing. So we're pressing down enough to get some tension up through the thighs, the hips, and into the lower abdomen. Just kind of allowing that pressure to start to bring some strength into the lower abdomen now. So we might press on the in-breath and release on the out-breath. And then we're just going to bring the feet a little bit more together. And we're going to open and close the knees. You might let the hands hang by the body. If you've got surface legs, you're on a bed or a sofa, your hands can just rest. Maybe face up, which sometimes allows the shoulders to open, but really we're looking for things to be comfortable. And this movement is it's like a butterfly opening and closing its wings on a sunny day. So it's quite gentle, enjoying the sunshine. We might breathe in as we open our knees and out as we close. Letting the breath be noisy can start to kind of help it to be a bit deeper, a bit longer, a bit like when we're falling asleep kind of breathing. All of these movements can be done anytime if you're sitting at a desk or sitting on a chair in the kitchen, just kind of thinking about the pressure through the feet or just moving the knees gently open and closed. There's ways to kind of bring a bit of movement into the lower half of the body. When we want to wake ourselves up and reconnect when we've gone to a freeze state, we don't want to do it too much of a shock or too jarring. So we're not going to be doing maybe the big movements that we do if we were in a fight state. A lot of the shaking and arm swinging that might release energy in a fight state might actually be quite jarring to our nervous system if we're in a freeze state. So it's really useful to think about the movement and the mindfulness and the things that we do as responsive to how we're feeling, not necessarily just imposing them on ourselves and expecting them to work, and then when they don't, kind of feeling like we've got something wrong. I'm just thinking, am I feeling agitated and angry? Am I anxious? Am I a bit frozen? Or am I feeling pretty okay and I'm just looking for some nice fun movement? You know, it's sort of anything is fine, but just doing things that are responsive to you and where you're at. So we're going to let that go and just come back, maybe just press the feet in a couple of times again, just into the ground. And then we're just going to draw a line, not with our nose, the tip of our nose. Imagine drawing a line from left to right. So we're not going all the way chin to shoulder. It's just a little turn. Just a little turn from left to right. And what we're going to do is we're going to let our eyes travel across the horizon line of the room. Seeing if we can let the muscles around the eyes start to relax and just let the eyeballs kind of float. So when we're in fight, flight or freeze state, when we're really stressed, the little muscles around the eyes tend to stop working. And so not a lot of data is being taken in through the eyes. One of the ways to interrupt that is to move the eyes across the horizon line. We're not focusing on any particular detail. We're just moving the eyes across the horizon line. Some people find it easier to follow the thumb. So you can raise your hand up in like a thumbs up and just follow the thumb across the horizon line. So whatever's easiest for your eyes. And I really encourage you, next time you're out for a walk, look to the furthest distance, find the horizon line. It might be office buildings or roofs of houses, it might be hills. It might be the sea, wherever you live. But just track from left to right with your eyes. You don't even have to turn your head if you're walking. Just track with your eyes from left to right on the horizon line. It's a fantastic way to kind of change what's happening in the brain. If we're feeling anxious or worried or agitated or disconnected, a bit hopeless or fearful. Just bored, just interrupting those states that maybe don't feel quite right for us. There's nothing wrong with any of those feelings. But if things have started to become a bit overwhelming, a bit too much, we can use some really simple little techniques to give ourselves a bit of respite. Just a break from those feelings, just interrupt. So we're going to let that go. We're going to do a little bit of tapping. And again, it's not going to be the whole body tapping that we might do when we're responding to fight or flight, in fact. But we're just going to do a little bit of gentle tapping. We're going to use the pads of our fingers. And so we're not banging where the nails are. We're turning the hand slightly. We're using the pads, the soft tips of the fingers. And the tapping is very gentle. And we're going to tap on the side of the hand where people think like a karate chop would be done. So it's not the side of the little finger, but the side of the palm of the hand. And we're just going to tap there for a moment. I'm kind of holding my hand up so you can see, but it's fine. Just kind of relax down. Again, see if the shoulders are relaxed down. Check in again, what's happening. Are you know, I have a tendency to come forward off my sitting bones, sometimes going back, but mainly that's my tendency. We all have a different tendency. See if you can come back onto your sitting bones. And just tapping there for a moment. The places that we're going to tap are places where there's lots of nerve endings, and this will send little wake-up signals to the brain. We're not tapping so that it hurts either our fingers or our hand. We're just tapping so that we can feel the sensation. That's it. We just want to feel the sensation. Same breathing, nice. See if it can get a little bit deeper and longer, your breathing. See if you want to kind of think about what's happening, you know. So yeah, we're not slumping or rolling forward. We're also not letting the head come too far forward or too far up. Kind of tucking the chin in a little bit and just being upright. And then we're going to move the tapping to just under the collarbone. And I'm going to tap on one side because otherwise I'm going to bump on my mic and it'll sound horrible for you. But you can tap under both collarbones. So we're not tapping on the collarbone, not on that bone itself, but just underneath it, just underneath the collarbone. And with all four fingers again, we're just tapping. You can hear that sound inside your chest, but it shouldn't hurt or feel uncomfortable for your hand or your chest. So you're going to tap at a rate, speed and hardness in a way that feels right for you. And I don't know what that will be for you. So you have to kind of feel into that and see what feels okay. Just notice the sensation. It's not about big fireworks sensations and the kinds of movements that we do in sort of mindful movement. It's about the subtle sensations and focusing in on those. And the essence of mindfulness is always to find a way to be present in this moment, not thinking about the past or the future, and being present in this moment with as little judgment as possible. So we might be thinking, this is silly, this is boring, I've got busy other things to do. But just seeing if we can kind of let go of some of that and just notice this sensation. And we're trying also to introduce as much kindness and compassion as possible. So mindfulness, we're present without judgment, with compassion. Just where we're going to tap in a way that feels right for us. We're being kind as we're able to be to ourselves. The next place we're going to tap is in the crease of the chin. And so this is just with 2 fingers, and it's even more gentle, even more softly sort of patting very, very gently there. Lots of nerve endings there as well. Check in if the shoulders have risen up, if you're rolling off your sitting bones, you know. See what's happening with your head. Come a bit more upright, you know, people talk about being pulled from the top of the head, pull it upright. Nothing should hurt. And then we're going to tap very gently just under the eye on the cheekbone. This is so gentle. You want to feel the tapping. Feel the sensation, but really there should be no jarring. It should be so, so gentle, just little butterfly taps. Tap, 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 tap. I'm going to let that go. Just see for a moment how you're doing, how you're feeling. Maybe pressing the feet into the ground a couple more times. And then we're going to do something with a little bit more speed, a little bit more energy. And it's bilateral movement. So we're going to start to pat in this floppy kind of way on our knees. So the wrist is like this, you know, and the shoulders and the arms, you know, we've got a nice bit of floppy spaghetti arms going on. And we're patting left and right. And it might be a little bit slower for you, or it might be faster. I think actually, wow, slow is quite nice, yeah. So whatever feels right for you. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do first, and then you have a go. We're going to throw our arms gently, throw them, not kind of, this is not a rigid movement. We're not doing this. We're going to throw our arms up in the air and let them land on the opposite knee. So we'll have to lean forward a little bit. I'm going to throw them up and land back the way they were. And we're just going to do that a few times. And you can really do it when it feels interesting and right for you to do it, or you can follow me and do it when I do it if you like. If you notice this is difficult, sometimes it's like we throw them up and we can't get them to land back in the right position. We can't get them to cross and we can't get them to come back. It's just very likely that there's a little bit of disconnect between left and right going on for you right now. There's really nothing wrong with that. It just happens to all of us sometimes. But doing these kinds of movements, it kind of helps the brain come back. We have to really concentrate, and left and right have to really hook up and be really connected. Throw it, we're going to do one, we're going to do 2 more times. We'll do 2 more in your own time. Throwing the hands up, landing the opposite way round. Pat, 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 pat. Just gently, shouldn't be hurting your knees or your hands. Throwing the hands up and landing one more time, the right way round. Now, like I say, any of these things that you notice feel interesting or useful, just kind of store them away for later. Anytime you feel like you've got a bit frozen, a bit stuck, a bit disconnected, we're going to let that one go as well. We're just going to end by pressing our feet just a couple more times into the ground. And we're going to move in all movements between sitting, standing, standing to sitting on the floor. All of those are also part of being mindful, of moving mindfully. So when we move from a chair to standing, I would sort of really encourage you to kind of lean forward onto your knees. If you're on the floor, you can lean forward onto your hands. But sort of leaning forward onto your knees and kind of really letting the body get a bit of weight through there. So we come up really slowly, really nice and kind to our knees and our legs and our joints. I'm going to move my chair out of the way, and you might just Come forward a little bit to wherever feels comfortable so that you can stand and move freely. You've got enough space for that. So again, we're just going to kind of ground. So the standing is kind of similar to the sitting. You know, we're going to keep our knees bent. We're not going to stick our bums out, and we're not going to curve them in. We're going to have our body straight down into the ground. And the bend of the knees and having the feet kind of quite wide in a way that just feels really nice and balanced for you. Yeah, but we can still see our toes, so we're not so bent. You know, we're not like this. We're kind of here. You know, but we're not locking our knees out either. We're bent. So nice, comfortable, encouraging some relaxation to start to happen. But we're pushing our feet into the ground, and we might just go from left to right foot a few times. Notice those sensations through your feet. You might go from front to back. You know, this isn't a big movement. This isn't about balance or exercise. Just finding those central parts of your feet, not too far over to the left or right, not too far to the front or back. So we feel nice and balanced over our feet, nice and comfortable. We're just going to raise our arms up, and our hands are going to come to kind of this kind of height, in the middle of the body. And your hands are facing down, and the hands aren't really tense out like this, but they're not just completely floppy either, so there's some energy there. And we're just going to notice the hands, taking the energy into the hands, the focus into the hands, and feeling the sensation that they are being pulled down. Okay, so your hands are being pulled down, and they're being pulled down by gravity. So just noticing that for a moment. That sensation that your whole arms and hands are being pulled down. Your feet, your whole being is really being pulled down into the ground. But at the same time, we're not completely collapsing. We are standing, aren't we? So there is also a push up. So the ground is both kind of drawing us down with gravity, but holding us up by its very solidity. And we are holding ourselves up with our muscles and our fascia and our skeleton. So we're being drawn down and grounded, but we're not collapsing. And that's that middle place, away from freeze, but we're not kind of getting really frenzied up into fight and flight either, but middle place. We can feel gravity drawing us down, but not collapsing. We can also feel the lift. There can be a bit of work in the arms starting to happen. Just notice that. It's not a bad thing to feel a little bit of work in the arms, but you might want to come down if that feels more comfortable, to feel gravity here. As long as you can still feel it, it's a bit of work there. It's just the point at which you feel, I can feel that force, but not so much, you know, we're not here that actually it feels like it's creating a lot of tension. You don't want to create a lot of tension in the body. It's not what we're trying to do. And then we're going to start to just raise the arms up. And then at the top, fingers are going to face each other. We're going to bring the hands facing the body down the front, down the face, the neck, the chest and the abdomen, down to the pelvic area, back out to the hips. And we're going to keep doing that for just a little while. And if there's any issues with your shoulders or anything like that, really just go to a height with your arms that feels safe and comfortable for you. Trying to remember to keep your pelvis facing straight down. A slight bend in the knees. Then we're going to start to do this, timing it with our breath. So when we're going down, we're going to breathe out, and when we're going up, we're going to breathe in. And so you're going to be doing it at a different pace to me. You're going to be doing it to the pace of your breath. And I don't know what that is. And whatever that is absolutely okay. It might be quite fast, or it might be quite a lot slower than normal. See if you can let the breath be noisy. Notice again that there's a lift happening away from the ground. We're kind of using the ground to bounce up and away. Then we're coming down, letting everything fall down towards the ground. So we're coming up. Down. We might start to even bring a little bit of sound into this breath, into this movement. If that feels good, so we're breathing in on the way up, kind of maybe bringing in a little hum on the way down. Just seeing where you can let that sound you're making reach. The buzz of that sound might be in your head, in your face, in your tongue, in your lips. But if you lower the pitch and tone of that hum, it might reach down into your chest, into your belly, into your whole torso. See where you can let that sound reach. And I'm aware that you might be places where people can kind of hear you, but try to let that go. Flatmates and partners and families, neighbours, pets. Just try to let that go and be with that sound. It's okay sometimes to do things that feel a little bit silly. It's actually quite good for us. Maybe bring a little tiny smile into that hum. One more time. Wherever you are, just slowly coming back to stillness. Letting the arms hang free down by the sides of the body and really noticing the hands and any sensations there. And the feet and the weight there. Tucking the chin, letting the shoulders drop. We are going to move down to seating, really slowly down to seated on the floor. And I always like to sit up on something. You might prefer to sit on a chair on the side of your bed or sofa again. And you might like to lay down. What I will always say about the sort of section of what I'm doing that is more really slow and still, or if you're doing any kind of relaxation or meditation or mindfulness, if you're in a freeze state, you might want to keep a little bit of motion going, and you may well definitely want to keep the eyes open. If we go completely still and do really deep breathing and have the eyes closed when we're in a freeze state, we're almost encouraging that state to continue. So it isn't always useful to just be kind of really super slowed down. We might want to keep a little bit of being online. If you do want to lay down and you're not feeling at all frozen right now, you might want to lay down. I'd always say, you know, have something like a blanket or a towel, or if you're lucky enough to have a bolster at home, you know, something from your sofa that might be like a bolster, something fat. You're going to want to put that under your knees if you lay down, probably a blanket or towel underneath you, a blanket or a throw or something over the top of you. And if you're laying, also always thinking about what's happening with the head. We don't want the head falling back so far or lifted so far that there's any tension in those little muscles just behind the neck as they reach up towards the skull. So you can kind of measure that, and I think things like towels and blankets are useful because you can kind of unfold them a bit and get the height just right, and just check out, where does your head relax? So you could be sitting in a chair, you can be sitting on the floor, you could be laying down, but feel warm and feel comfortable. So that's kind of an important bit, feel warm and feel comfortable. And we're going to do a little bit of tensing and releasing, so just continuing on that theme of kind of gently and kindly bringing the body back online, just having those kinds of skills in your toolbox for when and if you get to this kind of slightly freezing place and you feel a bit blurry and disconnected. So we're going to breathe in, and when we breathe in, we're going to tense certain parts of the body, and when we breathe out, we're going to release. So the first place that we're going to tense, we're going to scrunch up our hands wherever they're rested, on the floor if you're lying down, on your lap, or the arms of a chair if you're sitting up. So we're going to breathe in and clench the fists really tight, and then breathe out, let them go. And another time, second time. And let them go. And then we're going to do the feet. So we're going to really scrunch up the toes, okay? So we're going to breathe in and squeeze. And breathe out and release. Breathe in and squeeze the feet. And breathe out. And release the feet. And we're going to do the buttocks. So we're going to tense the buttocks, a bit of a funny one to do, but it feels good. And then release on the out breath. And a second time, tensing on the in-breath and releasing on the out-breath. And that often gets a bit into the belly as well, which is nice. Lots of tension in the hips and the belly sometimes. So then we're going to scrunch up the face. So again, nobody's watching you, nobody can see. So just let yourself have this moment. So tensing up the whole face, really screwing it up. Deep in-breath and releasing on the out-breath. And again, tensing up the face on the in-breath and releasing on the out-breath. And again, wherever you are, seated or laying, we're going to squeeze the elbows into the ribs and release on the out-breath. And again, squeezing the elbows in on the in-breath and releasing on the out-breath. And the last place is the shoulders. We're going to raise the shoulders up to the ears on the in-breath. Noisy out-breath and release the shoulders down. And again, squeezing the shoulders up on the in-breath and releasing them down on the out-breath. And just noticing that release for a moment. And again, really considering where your eyes want to be as we move into a little mini yoga nidra. Taking the focus to different places in the body can be a way to relax, absolutely. It can be very relaxing, yoga nidra. But actually, if we practice over time, even if we just do 5 or 10 minutes of it, we can start to develop more sort of sensory awareness, more subtle sensory awareness of our own body. And the more awareness we have of our body, the more awareness we have of what state we're in, the more we can kind of fine-tune the self-care we offer. What do we actually need? How am I? Am I tense? Am I rigid? Am I shaky? Am I speedy? Am I agitated? What do I need? So yoga nidra, the focus that we take, often in my experience, we take the focus somewhere like the right ankle and we feel nothing. We get really very little feedback. And some places in the body have a lot less nerves and you're probably always going to get a lot less feedback. But the more you take your mind around the body, the more you build a relationship of kind of getting to know, like a friend, your body, its muscles, its breathing rate, its heart rate, what's going on in your body and what might be useful for it right now. So just beginning to think that's what we're doing. We're using the mind like a spotlight, and we're just going to drop in to different places in the body and just letting the eyes be gently open. So really looking through the eyelashes, or closed if that feels okay for you today. And for me, it's different every day. It's different inside every day. It can be eyes closed in the morning and eyes open in the afternoon. So just whatever feels right for you right now. And just taking the spotlight of your mind down into your right foot, into your right big toe, your second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and little toe. And if you like some silent words to say to yourself to respond to this type of freeze state, we might say awake, alive, receptive. So as we take our focus into our right ankle, we might say silently, awake, alive, receptive. Focus travels up into the right calf, the right knee, the right thigh and hip. Awake, alive, receptive. Taking the focus down into the left foot, left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and little toe. Awake, alive, receptive. Up into the left ankle and calf. Awake, alive, receptive. The left knee and thigh and hip. Bringing the attention into the right buttock, the left buttock, the right lower back and the left lower back. Up those sides to the right back ribs and the left back ribs. The right shoulder blade and the left shoulder blade. Bringing the attention into the right hand, right thumb, forefinger, middle finger, ring finger and little finger. Awake, alive, receptive. The right wrist and forearm, elbow and upper arm. The right shoulder. Awake, alive, receptive. Bringing the attention into the left hand, left thumb, forefinger, middle finger, ring finger and little finger. Awake, alive, receptive. The left wrist and forearm, elbow and upper arm, the left shoulder. Bringing the attention into the lower abdomen, into the organs inside that area. Awake, alive, receptive. Into the upper abdomen, stomach, spleen, gallbladder, liver, kidneys. Awake, alive, receptive. Bringing the attention into the right side of the chest and the left side of the chest. The organs inside, the heart beating. Awake, alive, receptive. The right collarbone, the left collarbone, front of the neck, back of the neck, the top of the head, the back of the head. Right ear, left ear, forehead, right temple, left temple, right eyebrow, left eyebrow, the space in between the eyebrows. Awake, alive, receptive. The right eyelid and eye, the left eyelid and eye. Right cheek, right nostril, left nostril. right side of the jaw, left side of the jaw and chin, upper lip, lower lip, awake, alive, receptive, upper teeth and lower teeth, inside of the right cheek, inside of the left cheek, tongue, roof of the mouth, awake, alive, receptive. The whole head and face, awake, alive, receptive. The whole right leg and foot, awake, alive, receptive. Whole left leg and foot, awake, alive, receptive. The whole right arm and hand, the whole left arm and hand, front of the torso, back of the torso. The whole right side of the body, from the top of the head to the tip of the toes, awake, alive, receptive. The whole left side of the body, from the tip of the head down to the tip of the toes, awake, alive, receptive. The whole front side of the body, open, experiencing sensation, awake, alive, receptive. The whole back side of the body, awake, alive, receptive. The whole body, sitting here, laying here, breathing, awake, alive, receptive. All the sensations available to you. You see eyes open or behind your eyelids. The small sounds or loud sounds in your environment. You taste inside your mouth. You smell. The sensations at the surface of your skin, clothes, the air, temperature of the room you're in. Your sense of where you are, your felt sense of being in the world. Awake, alive, receptive. You might like to stay wherever you are, sitting or laying. You might have your eyes closed and you might keep them that way. You might have them relaxed and looking through lashes and keep them that way. Or you might start to move a little bit. If you're laying down, you might roll onto your side and stay there for a little while in a position of comfort. If you're sitting, you might just start to move your hands around your knees in very slow circles. Again, a gesture of comfort and kindness. And if you'd like to come back into fully awakened presence, do so incredibly slowly, like the other ways we move. Just using your hands to come up to sitting if you're laying. And if you're sitting, just kind of moving perhaps one sitting bone, lift one hip at a time. Just getting a bit of life back into a body that's been still for a little while. And just coming back if and when that feels right for you. And often we hear that in classes and workshops, and we have such an opportunity when we do things online to stay if we want to, and often we don't. We just go back. So really do check out what feels right for you today. Do you want to just stay and relax and be still for a little bit, or does it feel right to move and come back into your day? We're just coming to the end now to this workshop, and I really hope it was useful and interesting, even small parts of it. And take really good care of yourself, and have a lovely what's left of your day. Thanks very much for joining me.